Welcome to Truth Quest. If you are striving to balance earthly challenges with a heavenly perspective in areas like business, family, relationships, money, and personal growth, you have found your community. Welcome back to Truth Quest. It's good to see you all, even though I can't see you all. But we are just kind of plugging through. I'm visiting with a lot of my friends lately on, what God has shown them, how He's walking through life with them, how it looks, how it can be confusing, how it can be scary. And my friend Shana has agreed to sit down with me on opposite ends of this country through this beautiful interwebs that we have, and share a little bit of her story. So, Shana, I know that I know quite a bit. We've been friends for, I don't know, what, 20 years?
A very long time.
Yes.
Sometimes you just stop counting.
Yes. Oh, that's so wise. And tell us a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you do? What's going on?
Man, this question is so big. Like, who am I and what do I do? Two different things. So, I like to say I'm a lover of people and a mom and a life partner and an athlete, all those things. And what I do is, my heart is leadership coaching and teaching. And I do that in all sorts of different ways. It's a very broad answer to a question of I own a training and coaching company. I get to work with the coolest real estate team and build a real estate brokerage. And I have the most amazing business partners that I could imagine in my life right now. Does that answer the question? What did I miss?
It
you know all the things about me.
It's awesome. That's awesome. And we're going to dial into some of those, right? So let's start with how did you get into this business of coaching and teaching and doing all the leadership? What pulled you that way?
People. I think oftentimes we see people who are like, I have no idea. Like, this was never my vision or my path. And we read and we see, and it's in memes everywhere. You're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with, and on and on. And I believe that to be true because I've seen it work in my life. And so as I've gone through business, I started as a real estate agent 20 some years ago. Way over 20 years ago, actually. And through that, met a lot of people that graciously, openly pulled me into their world and had some great mentors. And through that, I just grew really in their vision and their belief in me. I never saw what most people see in me and didn't really own it for several years. I just blindly followed their belief in me. One of my partners always says, borrow on my belief in you. And I did that for a long time to find out where I'm at. And in every step of business, right? Work isn't always fun, but in every step of business, I've been blessed with doing a lot of things I love, but I've really been blessed with working with people that I love. And
it makes a huge difference, doesn't it?
Yeah. Like people that have truly changed my life in so many ways at different seasons. And the one thing that came out of every season of my professional career was I love business. I think it's a lot of fun, and I love people. So now I get to do exactly that. I get to work with people to build their life, and through that, their business.
Just marry those things together. So I know that when you started on this journey, I got to know your daughter, who is a beautiful soul and a beautiful woman and a beautiful mom now. And it was quite a few years ago now that you had told me how she had started attending a church. And I think it was in Arizona. And God met her there.
Yes, he did. She would tell you that, like, Yeah, I've always called her feisty, spirited.
Mm-hmm.
She's unapologetic in her life and always has been. And
Right.
she was in a season of her life. Um, her dad passed away unexpectedly, way too early. It was
Yeah.
COVID. Everything she knew in life was taken away or changed, or and she was recruited just out of college that she graduated but didn't graduate from, um, to Arizona to work for a great organization. And through that organization, some of her friends invited her to church. So she was going to church. And I know that she found a community, right? When we move in our life, we find communities.
Yes.
And
Yes.
we have to believe it was God's work. She found this community. And, she certainly didn't hide anything from me. And she also didn't gush about anything. And I remember this, I was, at a weekend getaway with a group of friends, and I get a video from her, a video text of her being baptized. Mom, I did a thing.
Yeah.
And um it was beautiful. She walked this path
Mm-hmm.
with such conviction of building her relationship with Jesus. Coincidentally, the man who baptized her that day is now my son-in-law, and the most amazing human on the planet. Um, it all happened fast and furious, but I just believe that it was intended to be.
Yeah. God created us for community, right? I mean, He
Mm-hmm.
calls us to be in community with each other for many
Mm-hmm.
different reasons. But what a beautiful reason that is, like just to bring her in. Like, here's
Yeah,
the community, and let us attract you to it.
yeah, if I was, and I'm sure we'll get there, if I was praying, that's exactly what I would pray for her to
Yeah.
find a place in life where she could find peace, because it was such a hard time for her. We were very, very close. She would say
Mhm.
codependent. We probably still are, um, in the right ways. But she's, my sweet little 20-year-old girl, 22-year-old girl in this big city, and she could have gone a lot of different ways. And that was the
Yeah.
way she found.
Yeah.
And and I couldn't be more beautiful. And as a mom, her being so far away from her, I've always found peace in knowing that those are her people. When I'm there, I
Mhm.
get to go to church with her, and I've met many of them, and it just brought me a lot of calmness knowing that she wasn't alone.
Yeah. So you shared with me, there was a time that you kind of walked away from your own faith.
Mm-hmm.
You're angry at God. I get that. Oh, I get that. um, do you mind sharing what happened? Little
No,
that story.
no, because I think, I'm happy to share, because I think it's not. I've just realized it, right? I've done a lot of work in my world, and Allison, my daughter, walking into the church with such strength,
Mm-hmm.
and then of course I go to visit her, so I go to the church, and just, love going to church. I think it's the most beautiful thing, and I love worship,
Hmm.
and
I
there
love
wasn't a
it.
time that I walked into that building for probably a year, every time I went to visit her, that I didn't cry. I didn't just cry. And I realized today, through a lot of work, all coaches have a coach, and I found a life coach at the right time in my life. Um and through work with him, I realized I lost my dad when I say lost, that's such a hard term. You never have anyone, right? But he
Right.
passed away when I was 26. My
Hmm.
mom had left early, so my dad was all I had. We were very, very close. He was the most amazing. We all say this about our dads, right? But he was an incredible human.
Hmm.
Um, and just died way too young. He died way too young of cancer. And
Mm.
by the way, he's the healthiest person. Like, we should write books about him. Like, should not have had cancer. Did none of the things wrong.
Right.
Um,
Wow.
and and I can tell you today, I was really mad. I was really mad, and I think I blamed God, because I thought, why in the world would you take him? I
Yeah.
blamed God as if he took him from us. And I remember this man who spoke at my dad's funeral, and his name was Augie Hebert, kind of an icon for Alaskans. And he said that God must have had something that he needed someone perfect for. And that's why he took Dwayne. And all I heard in my mind was that's why he took him.
Hmm.
And for a lot of years, I was really mad. And I think that I can look back now and say that's when I closed my door to faith for a long time. Didn't know it, didn't do it intentionally. I would say things like, I don't believe in organized religion. I remember in raising my daughter, you've probably heard me say that, like, I don't believe in organized religion. And, when I was raising my daughter, I would say, I think faith is a beautiful thing and it's hers to choose when she's ready to choose it.
Mm-hmm.
So glad she did. But now I can say that was all me covering because I was really mad.
Mm.
I was really mad. I was sad. And you need someone to blame.
So how do you crack open your heart again?
Oh, I don't know that it was intentional. I think watching my daughter and just wanting to be with her and experience what she was experiencing. And so you put yourself back in that environment,
Right?
right? It's like habit. If you stop going to church, eventually it won't be a part of your life anymore, right? And then eventually you won't know it's missing.
You don't. Yeah.
And
Yes.
so you do that for 20 years and then you put it back and it just creates a spark that makes you start thinking. And it was interesting how, that happened after then we lost her dad, who was obviously my husband for a long time. And I started finding myself surrounded by people who were speaking into me, who were speaking light into me. And I don't think today that was an accident.
Oh, no. No, I don't
So
believe
how do
you.
I open my heart? Probably the same way I closed it, completely unknowingly.
Mm-hmm.
And then the more you open it, the more you start asking questions. And like I said, it wasn't until just recently after my dad died in 1998, so that I realized that I actually have been really mad. I actually did close the door.
Mm-hmm. It's okay to be mad. He can handle it.
Mm-hmm. Thank goodness.
Right? He got big
Mm-hmm.
shoulders. Um, so you've been through some tough seasons.
Mm.
And how did you get through them? I mean, if it wasn't with Jesus, or were they?
To now I would say they were. I
Mm-hmm.
wasn't gracious about it. I wasn't
Yeah.
open about it, right? But obviously with him, there's been some like things that I've done. Like we
Mm-hmm.
sometimes cause our own seasons in life,
Oh, yes, we
and
do. Yes,
sometimes,
we do.
sometimes they're caused because of us, and some not because of us. And I operated for a long time in a shell, kind of in a shell of. I would say I was the master compartmentalizer, and I could put everything in my life into a little box
Mm-hmm.
and go on with I'm fine, it's fine, everything's fine.
Mm-hmm. Yes,
Yeah.
that sounds so
Yeah.
familiar.
Yeah. How are you? I'm so good.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Right. I was the master at that. The master. And until I wasn't. So how did I get through seasons? I waited a very long time. I didn't get through seasons. Seasons just happened. Life just happened. And I put it
Mm-hmm.
all in little boxes. I just put it all in little boxes and waited for the day that, I couldn't do it anymore. There was no more room for boxes.
Mm-hmm. You're
And
all
that
out of box
was
space.
all out of box space.
Mm-hmm.
And, and then it's just been a long time of, it's probably been a solid 4 or 5 years of just asking a lot of questions and listening. I have a story I'll share later that's so funny. asking a lot of questions and listening and asking a lot of questions and listening
Mm-hmm.
and just realizing that he's been there all along. That faith has been there all along. I just didn't give it credit for what it was, and I didn't pour into it, and I didn't allow it to pour into me.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I think it has to have helped because that you have a community around you of
Mhm.
believers, whether or not you were doing, the Christian churchy things, right? You weren't.
Right,
It
right,
doesn't matter. You don't do churchy things. Just like I don't.
right. I
Jesus
just
didn't do any churchy things. He hung out with
feel
a
like
bunch of people. I
potluck.
think he scratched and farted all the time, right?
Right. If I'm being honest, I just don't like the potluck thing. Like, I don't like the potluck. I don't want to, like that stuff. That stuff's a lot for me.
Mhm.
Um,
Right, but you had all these people. There was a lot of us that have been praying for a long time for you,
I know.
and some of us didn't even know why. Um, but you touch hearts, and hearts reach out to you. And I believe that God created this community for you. You have a beautiful community. I
Oh
mean,
God,
right
do
down
I?
to now, it's so specific. Like, I know the people in RMG.
Hmm.
I love them. They're family. They're family that I have through Jesus. And they serve at a really high level. They do business at a really high level. Their leadership is a godly leadership, and I have a lot of respect for them. Um, and so it was a testament to the transition that you've made over the last 4 or 5 years in my mind and in my heart when I saw you step into leadership with them. And I thought, okay, that's a good combo. That's a good combo.
Hmm. I think it starts even before that. I mean, my other business partner,
Hmm.
Kristen Cole, who's
Yeah.
a beautiful soul, but just goes fast and hard in the business world all the time. And I was with her one time. I'd gone down to do some work with her, and I always stay with her. And I wake up in her house and walk out of the room, and there's worship music playing Wednesday morning, like as loud as can be. And I was like, man, this is beautiful. And she was having a really hard time one time. And I just said to her, I've known her for years and years, but her and I just became actual business partners in 2020. And I said to her, how are you doing this? How are you getting through this? And she's like, oh, my faith is the only thing. And so
Hmm.
I've had her in my life and in my world and speaking into me for a long time, not just in business, but in life. And then RMG, and they were, like you say, this real estate company that I get to work with and build in my business life. And, I didn't know if it was the next right choice for me. I knew they were my people. I didn't know if being in business
Right.
with them was the next right choice for me. And we spent a lot of time together working on it, a lot of time working on it and working through it. And I remember the night before we were gonna sign an agreement, and I just prayed, and I was like, man, if this is not the right choice for me, like you got about 12 hours. 12 hours. I'm going to sign this thing. Right. And the whole time, Justin's like, my biggest fan is, asking me all the right questions. And um, the next morning, I'm like in my office, and the CEO shows up at my door with her boundless energy. And I was like, there's my sign, that was my
Hmm.
sign. So,
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, I think it encourages me to keep opening the door, keep exploring.
Hmm.
All these people in my world that I love, respect, that I know love me and respect me, just breathe it into me. I couldn't
Hmm.
turn my back if I wanted to.
Right. Now,
You,
no,
like, I
they,
feel like there's many of our mentors in the world, right?
yeah, yeah.
But they just keep coming. Like, they're coming at me strong now. My
Hmm.
clients, these beautiful clients that I get to work with and lead, and
So, God's aligning you, right? He's put you in alignment with all these different people, different companies, right? The
Mm-hmm.
business owners. Um, what do you think? I mean, how is he? And I don't know the answer to this. You may not either. But how is he aligning you with all of this to be used for his glory? Because we know that. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
everybody questions what is the will of God, and I think that it's a much easier answer than what we think. The will of
Mm-hmm.
God is that no one should perish, that all of us would be with him. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
That's his
Mm-hmm.
will. Anything that we choose to do to get there, that's
Right.
free will, right? And
Right.
so, I love the fact that you don't hold still waiting for this word from God, because he leaves that up to you. He really does.
Mm-hmm.
Are there
Mm-hmm.
easier paths and harder paths? Yes. But once you've chosen the path, now how do you figure out where in this, how are we going to glorify God? I mean, these are the things I chew on, because I do a lot of the same things you do, right? I teach,
Mm-hmm.
and I coach, and speak in different places, and it's like, how do we do this and make sure that he gets the glory and not us?
Mm-hmm.
It's hard sometimes.
Mm-hmm.
uh, so this is me asking, not assuming you have an answer.
Oh,
Welcome to
good. I'm
you.
like, good. Is this a test?
No, I
You
want
didn't
to
send me any questions before we
find
started.
us.
I've done
Yeah.
no AI on this. Um, I just don't know. I don't know. I always think, here's what I think. I think at every turn of my life, no matter what the season, it's always pulled me in a way of people. And I've always said, everybody deserves love.
Hmm.
There's something to love about every person. Every person has a gift. And
Hmm.
my top 5 values are love, impact, forgiveness, grace, and courage. And I don't know how I serve God in his will, but I know that every single day my mission is to make people feel seen, loved, and impacted.
Hmm.
And I don't care if that's being extra gracious with a waitress at a restaurant, or thanking the wonderful man who opened my door, or having a really loving conversation with a client, um, or Marco Poloing with my daughter and my grand. Like, I don't know what it is. And every morning I pray, there's one thing I do every single day, no matter what. And I just say, I just ask, show me your gifts for me and your path for me today.
Hmm.
And every day I know I have to live in those values.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and I assume if that's wrong, I'm going to figure it out. But
Yeah.
I keep ending up here, just with different opportunities, with different people, with different, like, it just keeps showing up. So I have to assume that this is my path. This is his path for me.
I think that it living, I mean, living the life you're living with the priorities that you've given it, right? Um, Love people
Mm-hmm.
and see them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that if you to glorify God in that is to do that out of respect for the fact that they are a creation of God.
Right.
And if they ask you why, be willing and ready to tell them about Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's our only job. Jesus only gave us one job: go out and make disciples. Well, if you're going to
Yeah.
make disciples, you better act like one,
Right.
which is you got to love people first. Let someone ask you why. I think
Mm-hmm.
you have to earn the right to tell somebody.
Yeah. And I think in a lot of ways, I feel like that's what I'm doing
Hmm.
in reading a lot, um, and just exploring. I wish I could say I've read the Bible, and I haven't. And the words are real small, and I don't sit still. Um, but I
The
read a lot and
listen to it.
I listen to a lot.
Hey folks, this is Diet with a quick note. I love talking to people that are at all different stages along the path of walking with Jesus. And a lot of people I talk with are in the same spot where they find it difficult to get into the Word. I strongly encourage you to do something simple to start. For example, you could begin in the book of Proverbs and read the proverb for a day. You'll be through the whole book in just 1 month. In less than 5 minutes a day, you can start getting God's Word into your heart and mind. It doesn't matter where you start, just start. There's also a lot of audio Bible apps that can make this an easy habit. Check out the free YouVersion Bible, or if you want something with more options, you can download the Dwell app. That one does have a monthly or annual subscription. But keep in mind, the Bible is filled with God's wisdom and love. It's His love letter to you. So take a few minutes to read it. In the meantime, give yourself a little grace, even if that's all you've got.
You know, and the one thing that keeps coming to me, and I said I've sat in church with my daughter and just cried and just wept. And one time with Allison Bradley even. And I'm name dropping on here like I'm a superstar. But these are all really important people in our life.
I know them, so they must be.
And the one thing that the message that he continues to bring to me over and over is that he does not judge sin, one better or worse than the other. When you bring him into your life, you are forgiven. Mm-hmm. And I think that was a huge thing for me, is to accept that I've been forgiven. Doesn't matter for what, doesn't matter why. It took me a long time to accept that and take ownership of that and realize I am forgiven. My daughter said to me one time, she asked about a church in Alaska, and I've not found a church in Alaska that I choose to attend at this point. And she said something about church, and I said, you just get into this lifestyle where you're healthy, and I have such a beautiful community around me. And she's like, Mom, the man died on a cross for you, and you can't give him 2 hours of your week? It's like, she's like that.
I love her.
Yeah, I forget where I was going with that, but I just, I forget where I was going with that. I think a big piece of it, though, was forgiveness and realizing you don't have to earn His forgiveness. You are forgiven, but you got to step up and you got to live in His gifts for you. And you have to live in the world that He's created for you to serve in. And so for me, I am forgiven and I got some time to make up for. So I do the same thing I've always done in the same way I've always done it, but now I do it with permission to own it, with permission that it is my gift and that it is a calling, if you will.
No, we all have spiritual gifts, and I agree. I think if we choose not to use them, we're being wasteful.
Right. Selfish.
Yeah, it's all and disobedient. It feels disobedient.
Right.
It's like, here's a gift. Oh, okay, let me throw it under the bed.
Right. Or not lean into it and develop it and use it in all the best ways that we were created to do.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for sharing with me today.
Yeah, man. I haven't had a conversation like that, I don't know if ever, but in a very long time. You're probably the only one that would be like, I'm bringing Shana on for this conversation.
There's nothing that a therapist can't help.
Exactly. Look at me, like I am the pillar of
traumatize you. But the thing is, I don't even know why I'm doing this podcast. I tell everybody it's the worst podcast ever. I'm just assuming that because I don't watch podcasts.
No, I don't either, but I've been on several. And here's what I think I love about podcasts. It's kind of like we were just talking about, what's your gift and how do you share that gift? And I remember, Diet, when I wasn't practicing and I had closed my heart to God, even though I didn't know it.
Uh-huh.
And you would come into my office and pray with me. And I'm just living DeEtte's life. Perfect. Like, and I remember in a season of your life in the last couple of years that has been, heart wrenching. And you just saying, like, this was your calling. You've known it. So you say, I don't know why I'm doing it. We don't have to know why, right?
Right.
We just have to know if we're called to do it.
Yeah.
Got to do it.
Yeah.
The why is going to show up.
Yep.
Doesn't matter why, it'll show up.
So, and since I don't know how to do anything but have real conversations, that's what we're doing on the podcast.
We're going to share with the whole world, and maybe somebody will watch.
I know, well, my mom watches. I know that.
There you go. There you go.
And Jamie's mom watches too. That's good.
Perfect.
But we just put real people out there talking about real things because the Christian life isn't as fluffy and awesome as everybody thinks it is. Sorry, the dogs are here now. Anna's going to have
You're
fun.
You're living life.
Anyway, I am going to go ahead and close this out. We're about as dark.
Thank you. Thank you for sharing, letting me share my heart in a way I've never done.
Coming in and being real with me, because that's all I want.
Yeah,
I
love you.
People to know that we're all just real, and it ain't that easy, and yet it is.
Yeah, it's much easier than not being real. If you have any questions, just ask me.
Amen. Well, I love you, sister, and for those of you out in the web world, check back again. We're just going to keep showing up and being real. Until then, try to spread a little grace, even if just a sprinkle is all you've got. As we conclude this episode of Truth Quest, we invite you to be a part of the conversation. Send in your questions, thoughts, and reflections. Don't forget, like, follow, and subscribe to stay updated on our journey together. Until next time, may you continue to seek truth with courage, and remember to sprinkle a little grace, even if that's all you've got.